Did you know the Ford Cortina was originally going to be called the Ford Caprino? But then someone told them that Caprino is actually Italian for goat shit. Yes, I am back, not in my podcast studio or in my car this time now. I'm just in my, I suppose this is my kitchen. You know, just thought I'd mix it up. There's better lighting. Hope you like it. I also have some friends. He's a dud. So onto some motoring news. Probably the most significant thing to happen since the last time I spoke to you is the new BMW M3 and M4 have finally been test driven and released to the world's journalists. It was embargoed until 11 o'clock last night, so I assume it's because it's midnight Central European time. I get why they have to embargo these things, but at 11 o'clock last night, of the many car channels I'm subscribed to on YouTube and that I follow on Twitter and stuff, all released their write-ups and video reviews at the same time. So I picked two or three just, you know, to get a kind of a mixed bag. Some of them did the M4, some of them did the M3, some of them did comparison tests, blah, blah. Anyway, from what I gather, it's, you know, it's fine. It's, you know, objectively, they've obviously moved it on. It's, you know, it's a little bit faster, this, that, and the other, a little bit. Actually, I think it might actually be slightly heavier. I don't know, maybe it's lighter. Either way, it's 1,805 kilograms, so it's hardly a light car. 3 litre twin turbo straight six like before. The competition ones that were released were rear wheel drive. There will be 4-wheel drive X-Drive ones. All the right-hand drive models are going to be competition pack cars, which means we won't get any manual gearbox, which seems like an absolute shame. But the only people to blame there are the customers, because in the previous generation, UK, and which pretty much means the Irish market as well, was mostly made up of competition pack cars. And with the previous generation, it was a DCT gearbox, dual clutch. And this new one is an 8-speed torque converter, which sounds pretty miserable. Apparently, it's for a torque converter, it's pretty good, but we want a manual, don't we? Really. Also, I've gone this far now without mentioning how it looks. I'm actually not offended by the front end anymore, especially when it has a number plate on it. I actually don't like the rest of the car. The M3 isn't so bad because both the M3 and the M4 have the same track widths, but the M4 body is already wider than the 4 Series body is already wider than the 3 Series body, but now because they share the same track widths on the M versions, the M3 actually has a kind of a wider, muscular stance. So it is the better looking of the two, as always it is, because, you know, saloon is always going to trump coupe. Plus the coupe from the side angle really looks like a Mustang to me. And also, I'm going to call this Mark 8 golf syndrome. The previous generation just looks a hell of a lot better. What was it, the F80? Was that what it was called? The previous generation? I can't even remember. This one's going to be called the G80. Maybe called G80. Anyway, you'll forgive me for getting the model codes wrong. But anyway, 75 grand basic in the UK. So, you know, you're talking 100 grand before you tick any boxes over here at least. Yeah, look, I've said this a couple of times before, we're past the peak now in the world of car. I think we're on the downward cycle. The best days are beyond us. As I said, objectively, it's probably a better car, but subjectively, the things that matter, character, soul, involvement. In other news, Hyundai have teased the Kona N, so the performance version of the Kona crossover SUV thing. When I say teased, they released some pictures of it that have slightly, the lighting's been turned down slightly, but you can fully see the car. It's a Kona with, you know, some, you know, red striping and bigger exhausts, and yeah, slightly more sporting than the normal version. They didn't release any technical details. We'd have to assume the drivetrain is going to be the same as the i30N, the hatchback. I'd imagine this will only have the dual clutch gearbox. Whatever. Why you would choose this over the hatchback is beyond me, but most people probably will. It's just going to be heavier, have a higher center of gravity, be less efficient, less practical than the hatchback, but it will sell in droves. Luckily, before that goes on sale, we'll have the i20N, which will be the i30N's little brother, a competitor for, say, like the Ford Fiesta ST, etc. And that could be a little riot. It's going to be a 1.6 turbo with, I think, 200-ish brake and a manual gearbox, which is what we all want. So don't really care for the Hyundai Kona N, you know, maybe you do, but, you know, I think I'll look forward to the i30 and the i20 that's coming up soon. That's enough crossover talk now. McLaren, so I talked about their new and like probably their first really full new car since they started, barring the F1, but since the modern day McLaren, they've all been very similar. 3.8 to 4 litre V8 engine, turbocharged engine, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, the Artura is coming up, but to coincide with the release of the Artura, they're releasing their first really aggressive warranty and servicing package. So this will be a 5-year vehicle, 6-year warranty on the hybrid battery, 10-year body warranty, and as well as that, you'll get a 3-year service plan. So every 12 months or 9,000 miles, full inspection, fluids, filters, etc. Which is pretty good, because one of the things I think that really scares people off about McLarens is their reliability and their build quality. So if it comes with a pretty aggressive warranty, that might help people get a lot more interested in buying a McLaren over, say, a Ferrari. Personally, I would still buy a Ferrari, but I do appreciate McLarens, and this new one, it interests me. V6 hybrid. They're obviously pretty confident about its durability with this warranty. Yeah, good to see. You know, more supercar manufacturers is better than less. So best of luck to McLaren on that one. Something I meant to mention in my last episode, but I forgot. Porsche have now upped their stake in Rimac. Rimac being the Croatian EV hypercar manufacturer, but they're essentially a technology firm, because a lot of manufacturers, I think Jaguar, Ford, Hyundai, a lot of people are investing into Rimac now, obviously Porsche as well, for their EV know-how and their technological know-how. I think 24%, I don't know, people know how business works. 24 being just shy of a quarter must mean something. But fair play, it just goes to show the confidence people have in Mate Rimac, who started the company and owns the company. I think he's only 33 years old. Fair play to him. Yeah, it shows the confidence in that company and what they can do, and also signals that, you know, all the manufacturers, including sports car manufacturers like Porsche, are taking this whole EV thing very seriously. So that's hats off to Rimac on that one. And on to some motorsport news. Small bit about Le Mans. The Le Mans 24 Hours has been pushed back until August. It's usually at the beginning of June, and it's going to be pushed back till August for obvious reasons. But they say, you know, with an August date, they hope to have spectators at the race, which will be interesting. It's the first year of the new top class rules. So GT is still the same, GT-AM, GT Pro, road biased, I say road related cars, Ferrari 488s, Corvettes. Corvette are going to be back this year. They weren't here last year, but with their mid-engined C8 Corvette, C9. But it's the first year of the new top class, the LMD and LMDH classes at the top of the field. There's only going to be 3 this year. Toyota are going to be the first one with the LMH. They're the ones making their own prototype. And then I also have Glickenhaus, which I spoke about, privateer team, and I think Alpine are running essentially an LMP2 car to the LMDH regulations. Again, this stuff confuses me. It's going to be a couple of years before we see all these changes come on sound that I talked about in my previous video. But yeah, August could be a nice time for the race. You know, it's in France at the tail end of summer, so that could be nice. But the big motorsport news is we have our last reveal of Formula 1 cars, which happened today. Ferrari, the boys in red, they released their 2021 Challenger. Again, it's an evolution of last year's car, because it's the last year of these regulations before the big regulations come in 2022. But there is some interesting changes. The nose is quite elaborate. They've kind of gone for a kind of two-pronged attack, because there's two types of nose kind of setups that people go for. There's kind of the wider twin nostril nose, and then there's kind of the skinnier nose with a cape. That's stuff like Mercedes and McLaren do, and then like Ferrari and Sauber and a few others are using the more nostril shaped ones. But now Ferrari have kind of gone for a mix of the both. It still has the nostrils, but it's been tightened and the cape is quite pronounced. And then it has these kind of like this collection of little winglets on the monocoque. And then aesthetically, obviously their floor, they're not going to show their hand on the floor, because that's where the big regulation change is, the reduction in elements in the floor, and the rear diffuser is coming in this year. But for, just aesthetic style things, so it's the horrible garish Marlboro red, but it bleeds into the back, into the more traditional darker burgundy red of the original Ferrari Formula 1 cars of the early 50s. They ran that colour scheme at it wasn't the Italian Grand Prix, it was the one that was ran at Mugello. I can't remember what they called that one. It gave a different name because we already had an Italian Grand Prix. To celebrate their 1000th race. So there's a little bit of that at the bottom. And the badge on the front, the Ferrari badge, it's the old style badge, and it's kind of like, it's given some fake patina on it to make it look like it's from back in the day. They also have an illuminous green Mission Win Now. Mission Win Now is this weird thing, marketing thing, strategy thing that is part of the Philip Morris Group, who are the big tobacco giants who make Marlboro and this, that, and the other. They have an illuminous green version of their logo on the engine cover of the car in illuminous green. It's clearly just there to spark up conversation via social media, etc., about Mission Win Now, and therefore people start talking about Marlboro and Philip Morris. They're not allowed to run this thing in a lot of the races, so that will disappear anyway post Bahrain, which is the first race coming up in a couple of weeks. Pre-season testing happens this weekend. There's only 3 days this year, as last year there was 6, and before that then they got 10 days, 2 full weekday weeks, which is fine because the regulations are coming to an end. So less testing is good, because the less time they have on track, the less they learn. We're not going to learn much from testing anyway. We never do, because you never know what fuel loads people are running, the way their engines are set up, etc., etc. You'd be a crazy person to bet against Mercedes, being the head of the field again this year. There is a small chance someone will, get a jump on everyone else with the redesign of the floor and the rear diffuser. I don't think it'd be something as extreme as the 2009 season, when Braun GP found a loophole and created the double diffuser and managed to win the championship in their first and only year in Formula 1. But someone could have, some sort of trick that no one else has thought of. Mercedes themselves didn't put their production floor when they launched their car for 2021, and we won't see it until pre-season testing starts. So they obviously have something up their sleeve. But there's nothing to say that another team couldn't catch a break and develop something that's managed to get them half a second, maybe a few more tenths than that as well. But I'd imagine Mercedes will still have the upper hand. But it'll be interesting nonetheless. There's always something to learn from winter testing. But luckily the first race is it's the last weekend in March. So once the season gets going proper, I'll start giving bigger updates on Formula 1 and what goes on. It's probably when I'll start doing longer versions of this that I'll put out as an audio. Because I know not everyone really cares about motorsport. So that's enough of that. Oh, one last thing about Formula 1 as well, I didn't mention in my last video, is Aston Martin will be sharing safety car, medical car duties with Mercedes this year. Mercedes have been doing it for 20 odd years. I'm not sure, I think they're just going to divvy up which races they go to. So for the safety car, Aston Martin will be using the current Vantage, and they're using the option grille, which I don't actually like. I actually prefer the crazy grille the car was launched with, each to their own. And the medical car will be a DBX, which actually looks pretty cool, with all its safety car gubbins. And then like the Mercedes are going to use the same setup. They're going to use so it'll be E63 for the medical car, and it's an AMG GTR Black Series, I think, this season. for the safety car. The only thing is their livery is going to be red rather than silver, and they ran a red one in commemoration. Oh no, as part of actually, so it was the 1000 GP in Mugello for Ferrari. They sported a red livery in a nice nod of respect to Ferrari. But they're running red now for this season because they have sponsorship on them. I think it's Crowd Surge or some company I don't give a crap about. So yeah, that's okay. That's enough Formula One news. I said the season kicks off with pre-season testing this weekend. So I'll talk more rubbish about Formula One as things go forward. So then to round this out, my traditional look into the classifieds. So we obviously were talking about the BMW M3 and M4 at the beginning, which is going to be €100,000+ car when it goes on sale here. So I just looked for some alternatives. So the first one that popped up for me is a 2008 E90 BMW M3 coupe. I'd love a saloon, but I couldn't find any saloons for sale. It's black with a black interior, and it's got 56,000 miles on it, and that's why it's 25 grand, which is on the higher side for an E90 M3. But the main thing is it's got no turbos like the new one. It's got a big burly 4-litre V8 and it's a manual. It says it has a brand new NCT and a full service history, etc., etc. It's for sale in Wexford. So yeah, there's one alternative to the current M3 M4, better engine and a manual gearbox. If you're feeling really brave, and for 5 grand more, you could get yourself what's the mileage on this? It is, sorry, excuse me. So again, 58,000 miles, 2005 this time, but we are looking at a silver saloon. Again, a touring would have been great, but try and find one. E60 BMW M5. So that's the M5 with the big burly 5-litre V10, which sounds amazing. Obviously, a car that's pretty infamous for its reliability issues. And unfortunately, the right-hand drive ones only come with the not so great SMG dual clutch gearbox. But hey, you know, we're not going to get another V10 saloon car anytime soon, or if ever again. Probably never again. So yeah, so if you're feeling really brave, E60 M5, that is in Dublin. Then for my classified find of the week, again, it's also another M car. Now this is up for 35,000 sterling because it's in County Down. It's expensive for what it is, but this car just has a nudge under 31,000 miles on it. Now, so you're gonna have to pay VRT on top of it, but it's a manual E46 M3 with just 30,000 miles on it. So yes, £35,000 plus VRT is a lot for one of those, but the price of those is only going in one direction, and it looks to be a pretty good one. There's a few photos from underneath. It looks very tidy. It appears to still have all of its rear subframe. So while it's a lot of money, it is a pretty goddamn good one. So if money is no object to you and you want yourself a really tidy E46 M3, as I'm pretty sure we all do, especially when it's got a manual gearbox, there you go. That is for sale in County Down. So that's it for today. I'll love you and leave you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Stay safe and stay well, and yeah, bye.